Welcome, Titan Upload Live. So glad you could be here as the Cowboys just scored before halftime. They go up 14-13. So I will try to keep you up to date on that game if you guys haven't yet or not watching it. And we'll run down the action for week one. Go Jaguars. That's how I'll start the show. Go Jacksonville Jaguars. You did awesome for us today. And the Colts start 0-1 in the South. So anybody that it's not the end of the world. We lost week 3 last year to the Colts. Or to the Jaguars. So it can happen, but this is a big pick-me-up for the Titans because if the Titans would win, it's Jacksonville and the Tennessee Titans in first place, and they would be a showdown game, and we know we would get probably Nance and Romo. Just kidding. But we'd both be 1-0 next week going into Nashville. So I do have a guest on, Ken Moore. We'll get to him in a minute. So glad you could be here. I did want to kind of start the rundown with the Clowney giveaway because that was such a I thought it was a big deal yesterday. A lot of retweets, a lot of stuff going on. So if you go on my Twitter account, Facebook, YouTube, you know the drill. You know how to win this thing. I will draw 8 names on Wednesday. You will know the 8. I will post it, blast it everywhere. And then once those 8 names are drawn, next Sunday night, I will have a live wheel. And I'll share my screen. I'll put the 8 winners on the screen. And I will press it once. And whoever it lands on is the winner. I will be in contact with you immediately that night, and hopefully you watch the show, you have an idea. Otherwise, at least you keep up to date with what's going on social media, and I will get that done. And I will be reaching out for the color. You get to pick whatever color is available. I think it's, if I'm not mistaken, navy and Oiler blue are the 2 options. It may be white, but I'm not sure on that. And then the size. And then that will be shipped to your house right from the Titans themselves. So I did want to throw that out to you. And it usually takes a little bit under a week. It's about 4 days for the most. So by the time we go into week 3 against the Vikings, you should have your jersey. All I ask is you post it and you say where you got it, where you won it. And you just basically, so that way I'm off the hook and people know it was for real. And I know it's in safe hands and you actually got it. So just wanted to thank all of you that have retweeted. Over almost 300 retweets. All of you that have commented. Some of you have taken this to the extreme. You've gone all out. You've done every possible way to win this thing. So again, bottom of my heart, love all of you guys. I can only pick one winner and it will be done fairly. I can tell you that. And again, Wednesday night, probably by 9 o'clock, I will have a list of the 8 who qualified. And then again, Sunday night, Titan Upload Live next Sunday after the Jaguars. So they'll actually be in the post-game show. I will actually spin the wheel. I'll wait a while, and then boom, we'll know who wins it. So thanks again for being here. I know a lot of you are probably going to take off now that you know it's not tonight. We got 54 in the house. Make sure you tighten up that like button. It just helps out the channel, and it just, I don't know, helps out with the YouTube stuff for sure. So there's a lot we got to get into today when we're going to bring Ken Moore on here in a minute. The Titans, if you watch the action today, it does concern me. The 49ers lost. The Colts lost. And if we think tomorrow's going to be a cakewalk, week 1, you got another thing coming. I mean, there's no way you would take the Jacksonville Jaguars if you were betting on that game. And honestly, I don't think there's any way you take the Cardinals on the road at San Francisco. And a lot of teams think San Francisco is a top 5 team, maybe even a top 3 team. I mean, I guess you can even make the case top 2 team. And they end up playing kind of flat today. And the Bears, were down 23-6. They look like nothing all game long. Trubisky 3 touchdowns to finish it off in the 4th quarter. Bears end up beating the Lions. So we'll run down all the action, but let's get Ken Moore on. Let's get the party started. So here we go. Ken Moore, you are now not muted. You're good to go, man. Thanks again for joining the show.
Hey, what's up, Mark? No problem. No problem, man. A lot of exciting football. Glad to have week 1 back. I was so excited today. And for those who would like to follow me, you can follow me at KMoore Sports on Twitter. And then also on Instagram, it's at Kenmore Sports on Instagram. So at KMoore Sports on Twitter, at Kenmore Sports on Instagram. But as you mentioned, an exciting day, week 1. We didn't know what it would look like with no fans in the stands. I think both Fox and CBS did a great job in their presentations today. It felt a little weird, but it felt like real football. I mean, it was real football. I was afraid it would look like a scrimmage, but I think they did a really, really nice job today with their presentations.
Yeah, so let's get right into this. I'm gonna go ahead and just put the pregame on the show, and then we're gonna talk Isaiah Wilson, and we're gonna run through the scores. I wanted to ask you about the crowd noise, and I wanted to ask everybody in the house as well about the crowd noise, because for me, it was playing upstairs. I was doing an interview with Titans Torch, so shout out to him. He's gonna be starting the YouTube stuff up, so good luck, man, and I hope it works out for you. But anyways, so I'm downstairs. I can hear the TV upstairs, and I thought my son was playing a video game. I thought he was playing Madden. And it's just the crowd noise. I think they overdo it. I'll be honest. At times, it's frustrating. It seems too staged. I don't know, man. I mean, I'm just happy to have football, so I'm not going to complain. But I'll ask you, did the crowd noise at all bother you, or you just kind of, I mean, because you're used to being up in the booth. You know what I mean? So.
Right.
What did you think about the crowd?
It was actually fine for me. I didn't mind it. On my Facebook, I had posted it, and a lot of people did not like it. They did not like the crowd noise. A lot of people haven't liked the NBA crowd noise. Some people do like it. So I think it's kind of a 50-50 split. It was fine for me. It enhanced the game. I would much rather have that than just echoes and broadcasters talking without any ambient noise in the background. I'm curious to know how it actually was in the stadiums. If anyone watched the CBS broadcast, the national game, the Patriots and the Dolphins today, I think Jim Nantz and Romo did an excellent job. They just kind of joked about the fake crowd noise. When the Patriots did something good, they say, oh, and the crowd goes wild. And, they were having fun with it. And I think that's what you have to do as a broadcaster. We know it's fake noise, but you have to embrace that as a broadcaster. And I think some broadcasters, obviously your Romos, your Jim Nantzes, they're more experienced and they can do a better job at that than some of your lesser broadcasters. They're all NFL announcers, but just like NFL teams, there's some great ones and then there's some not so great ones.
Yeah.
So I think, hey, it's fake noise. We're going to acknowledge that it's fake noise, but, it's there. It helps. It was fine for me.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just happy to have football. I mean, I'm not going to complain about it. I think next week they'll kind of tone it down a little bit because I thought in certain games it was extra loud, and it was kind of, it's almost like a static. I mean, it wasn't that bad, but it's almost like putting, a large amount of static on the TV, and eventually you kind of just ignore it. And then you go to other channels, and I was watching Red Zone because it was free this week on DirecTV. So it was going in and out of different games, and some were louder than others. So, but I think they'll get it all pretty much equipped. And then I don't know about you, but I watched some college football over the weekend, and I'm just anticipating maybe more and more fans come October. Are you getting that feeling?
I do. I think if everything goes smoothly, this first 2 to 3 weeks of the season. And each city is, city by city, state by state. California, I don't know if the LA teams will ever have fans or San Francisco. But I think the majority of the teams will eventually allow 5,000, maybe 10,000, maybe 20,000. And it may slowly increase where you go, okay, we're going to start off with 10. And if that goes well, we'll go up to 15. So I think the Jaguars were the only team that had crowd other than Kansas City on Thursday night. They were the only team that had crowd noise, actual fans in the stands, I should say. And I think Indy will have fans next week. They're going to need them after that beatdown they took today in Jacksonville. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. So we'll kind of see what happens. But yes, I think eventually once October gets here, I'm hoping that more stadiums will have actual fans.
Yeah, it almost seemed like even the Jaguars and Colts game had fake noise to go with the fans. So that was really hard for me. And I heard the opening game they didn't have fake noise, and that's what the broadcasters said. So who knows? We'll keep an eye on it. It'll be interesting to see what the Titans game's going to feel like and be like with no fans in the stands and getting a chance to play Jacksonville. But we got a game before that. So I wanted to run down real quick the scores with you guys from today, and then if anything kind of stands out, how would you grade his performance?
This was my thought on when they signed Phillip Rivers, and this is trying to be my unbiased opinion. I didn't think it was a good signing. I think he will give you stats. He will give you 300 yards. He will give you 4,000 yards in a season. But whenever the game is on the line, he will make a critical turnover. And he did it again today. They're down, I believe, 4 points. There are 4 minutes or so to go in the ball game. They're driving downfield, and he makes a bad pass like we've seen him do so many times in San Diego and even in Los Angeles last year when they moved to LA for the Chargers. I just did not think that was a good move for the Colts. I thought the Colts were way overrated coming into this season. A lot of prognosticators picked them to win the AFC South. I do not. I think at best they're an 8-18. They have a lot of young talent on their team. They have a great offensive line. Unfortunately, Marlon Mack looked like he blew out his Achilles today. Luckily for them, they did draft his replacement and Jonathan Taylor. The other back, Hines, is really, really good. He had a score today and had some nice runs. But if I was a Colts fan, I would not have confidence in Phillip Rivers, and a lot of them do. I don't know if that changed today a lot. A lot of them that I saw in one of the groups that I'm AFC South groups that I'm in, they were highly upset and they saw it coming. But I think it's going to be a problem for Indy.
Yeah, I don't know why they got away from running the ball. I mean, when you're playing Jacksonville, I'm not sure why you're throwing the ball over 45 times.
Yeah. They had I think they ran it like 22 times. They threw it 46 times. If you let Phillip Rivers throw the ball that many times, he's going to make a couple of mistakes, and he did.
Yeah. Yep. And then the Ravens. Lamar seems to be back. I mean, Lamar played pretty well. The Ravens look pretty good. The Browns, I don't know what's going to happen with them. They're going to be hit or miss. I see maybe 7-9, 6-10, maybe 8-8 if they can pull a little hot streak. They can definitely be dangerous when you play them. They got a lot of guys. Just if they all can play at the same time, that's going to be the ultimate question.
Here's the thing to watch with Cleveland. Do not be surprised.
I mean, Corey Davis, I just hope the hamstring's not a real. I mean, I hope they're being precautionary with it. Because if he seriously injured it and that's why he missed the beginning of the season, the preseason, then we might have a problem on our hands. Because hamstrings, they don't always go away and they take a long time. And I don't know how Derrick Henry finished the year last year with his bum hamstring. I mean, I'm glad they kept him out for the Saints. But I mean, if you looked at the Texans game, the guy couldn't even go to the outside. But give him credit. He's a fighter. He's tough. So,
Yeah.
All right, stream. Apparently the stream's cutting out, and the stream's audio keeps going in and out. So I do apologize. I'm not really sure what's going on. I don't even know. It's probably the lovely Comcast, I'm thinking, but who knows? Let's go. I seen it. He's in the house. I mean, I think a lot of us. You said respect the name in your post-game show or your live comment at the end. You said respect the name, and then someone was yelling in the background, you're not tanking. So honestly, you guys are impressive. I'll tell you up front, Ken, maybe not this year, but I think the Jaguars are doing it right by getting rid of a lot of the me guys, getting rid of some guys that maybe aren't fitting in the system for whatever reason. I'm not blaming anybody there. But they're going to build that thing from the ground up. That's what a lot of baseball teams do. I know that's what my White Sox did. And guess what, Ken? The Chicago White Sox are officially in first place in the entire American League. That is impressive. Who would have thought? Who would have thought?
Congratulations.
It's going to get harder, though, because we play the Twins, and then we play the Indians, and then we finish up with the Cubs. So the schedule's not going to be easy anymore. No more Pirates, no more Royals, no more Tigers. So we're into the real world, but it's still kind of exciting. So is the audio dead again? So I hope not. I hope we're good. So we'll stay away from the scores. Seem to have all sorts of problems when we go to the score. So let's get into Isaiah Wilson. This happened over the weekend. So we had a situation where basically he gets arrested, and I think a lot of fans, this is strike two. He's been on the COVID list twice. Oh no, I said the word, so now YouTube's going to get after me there. But he's been on the list twice. He went to a party, and a lot of people are like, what's wrong with going to a party? Rumor was he tried to possibly attempt or was thinking about jumping off the set. He didn't do it. Titans handled it, and then we moved on. Then there was a report that came out that they weren't think he was going to play very much this season. So we were like, oh no, that doesn't sound good. And then over the weekend, we see him go back on the list again. And then this weekend, he gets arrested. So your initial thoughts when you heard the news Saturday morning? I think it was Saturday morning when that came out.
Yeah. I was very disappointed. As you mentioned, when we talked a couple of weeks ago, my position about the party situation was, hey, he's 21 years old. He just got out of college. Under normal circumstances, going to a college party would not be a problem. As long as you go, you have a good time, you go home, nobody cares. But obviously with the list situation, the C list situation, you have to be extremely careful. And I wrote this today on my Facebook that, in response to a lot of people saying, oh, he's 21, he's a kid. And then some people saying, oh, he needs to get cut. My position is the NFL is a privilege. It's not a right. You have to uphold your end of the contract, which means being available to your football team when you can outside of injury. He has not, to this point, Wilson, displayed the characteristics of an NFL player or what you would want out of a number one draft pick. Responsibility comes with that. If he was a fifth, sixth, seventh round pick, he would be cut by now. He would be gone. Period. Point blank. But he has that security of being a number one pick. And my position is if he is suspendable, you suspend him for the maximum amount of games that you can. You try to get him into some type of counseling and or rehab to help him as a person. But then also from the business aspect, you start calling around the league to try and find yourself a right tackle because you may have made a mistake with this guy. Jack Conklin was nothing but a professional from what I understood while he was here. He did have some injuries concerns. His performance did decrease over the last couple of years. I thought he was still worth bringing back, particularly to the contract value that he got from Cleveland. I thought it was a very affordable contract where we could bring him back, but we decided not to. And we decided to go with the younger talent, which is fine. But where the Titans are right now, a lot of people compared him to the issues that Taylor Lewan had early in his career. The difference is now when Taylor was drafted, we were in a rebuilding mode. We had time for players to grow and make mistakes. This now in 2020 is a championship-ready team. This is a team that's expected to get anywhere from 10 to 12 wins this year and challenge Kansas City and Baltimore once again for a spot in the Super Bowl. We don't have time. The Titans don't have time to babysit anyone right now where they are in their franchise's growth. You expect guys to come in, be professional, be ready to play. So far, Isaiah Wilson has not shown that he's mature enough for that responsibility.
Can we count on him at all this year, do you think? What's your feeling on that? I mean, could he be – I know maybe it's too early to tell. The report was he really wasn't going to play much anyways, but do you even see him playing again this year?
I would hope so, yes. You expect your number one draft pick to play. They didn't draft him to sit on the bench for 16 games. Maybe 3 games, maybe the first 4 games, get some spot, starts, 10, 15 plays here or there in a game. But, yeah, you expect this guy to be your starting right tackle. Jack Conklin was drafted as a first-round pick. He was a starting right tackle. Taylor Lewan was drafted as a high first-round pick. He was your starting left tackle their first year. So you expect this guy to start at some point this year, and I don't put that out of the realm of possibility. It's a long season. It's 16 games. Anything can happen. That's why you want to try to get this guy help now, early in the season, get this nipped in the bud, and hopefully he can mature. The leaders on this team can rein him in and get him ready to go for the second half of the season. But at the same time, as an organization, if you're John Robinson, you're on that phone trying to see, hey, after the first couple of weeks, if there's a team that's not performing up to snuff and they got a right tackle that may be on the block, that's a good veteran that you can get for a 4th, 5th round, 6th round pick, you may have to make that deal.
Yeah, I heard Ty Sambrello, the guy we got from the Falcons, who can play tackle as well. I heard he's had a pretty good camp. I don't know how much you really can put into camp when they go against their own guys, but apparently he's done a pretty good job. So you have that as a backup option if Kelly, for some reason, gets hurt or can't perform. But I agree with you. I think you need to look what's around the league. I think after week 1, you can go out and get veterans now where you don't have to guarantee their salary. So we'll be interested to see if we do that with running back as well. So how concerned are you not having Darrington Evans to back up Henry? Now we go with Sonorsi Perry. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm a little bummed. I was really looking forward to see Evans play. Obviously, we didn't have any preseason games, and he's been kind of banged up and injured throughout camp. So that's been a disappointment as well. We know that Henry can carry the load, but you definitely want, a good third down back. And where it really comes into play is that when Henry does need a breather, particularly on third down, running the ball is usually not an issue. If you're a running back and you can run, you can run. You can find the hole, you can run. The things with young players is pass protection. You have to be able to pick up the audibles. You have to be able to pick up the blitzes because you're the last line of defense to protect Ryan Tannehill. If a linebacker or a safety is coming on a blitz and they get past the offensive lineman or the tight end, the running back is there to pick up those guys. That's where you have the importance of a veteran, a guy that's gone through the practices and knows what to do. So that's the key thing that people want to watch tomorrow. It's not how many carries the backup running back gets, but if he has to be in on critical third down passing situations, if that guy can pick up the blitz and protect Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, and then I think Derrick Henry is just going to get the ball like 30 times. As long as they can run the ball, right? I mean, last time in Denver, they didn't run it very well. I think Henry was like 15 carries for 28 yards, and Deion Lewis probably had 1 carry for maybe -1 yards. I'm not really sure on Deion Lewis. But he didn't really do a whole lot for us last year either. So it was kind of Henry's show all the time, and he definitely delivered towards the end of the season. But I think game 1, so if you have fantasy football implications and you got Derrick Henry in your lineup, I roll Henry. Obviously, you're going to play him regardless, but I think he might put up some decent stats this week because he's going to be on the field all the time. And I think they might play him on third down and stuff because we'll see if he improved on his screen game at all. It seemed like he's been, pretty decent at it lately. I mean, he took one to the house against the Browns. He took one to the house against the Jaguars in the Week 17 game to get us in the playoffs a few years ago. So I'm comfortable with him. But again, Perry, 11 carries for 33 yards in 56 games that he's played. I'm not sure we can really count on that. So that leads me to my next point. Is there anybody around the league now that we're officially done, with week 1 when we play tomorrow, that you might take a chance on or bring in? Lamar Miller do anything for you? Freeman do anything for you?
It depends on the injury situation with Evans. If Evans can come back next week against the Jags or the following week, I think we have the Vikings, I believe.
Vikings and Steelers.
Yeah, the Vikings. Yeah, the Vikings. If he's, if he can come back fairly quickly, then I think you keep that room as it is. And I think we have a couple of guys on the practice list, on the practice squad as well that we can bring up. So I think we're fine at running back. That would probably be the least of my concerns right now.
Yeah. And then we'll go back to the other side of the ball. So now we know that how shocked were you that Adoree Jackson is out?
I saw that scroll yesterday. I was like, what? You got to be kidding me. Because, of course, Cortland Sutton is questionable with the shoulder injury for the Broncos at wide receiver. They're obviously already missing Von Miller, so I'm thinking we got a good advantage now. They got a couple of young rookies. And Adore's our speed guy. He's our fastest guy in our secondary. And they have the rookie from Alabama who can fly. And I guarantee you're going to see him run some fly routes down the field. So now I believe probably Jonathan Joseph, who we picked up from Houston, will probably start opposite Malcolm Butler. And neither one of those guys have tremendous speed. So that's going to put a lot of pressure on Byard and Vaccaro on the back end to make sure that those fast wide receivers from Denver don't fly by us. So that's a huge loss. That's definitely changes the dynamic of our secondary.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still confident in some of these guys like Hooker. Chris Jackson supposedly had a really good camp, the 7th round pick from Marshall. So I think, he's going to get an opportunity in this one. And then, like I said, you're going to count a lot on your back end guys, Vaccaro, Byard, to come up and play more coverage. And you need a pass rush. If you can get a pass rush, it makes everybody look good, Ken. So it don't matter who's back there. So hopefully we can get some.
You hit it on the head. You got to get pressure on Drew Lock, young quarterback. Played well at the end of the season last year. But you got to get pressure on him. Of course, Vic Beasley, we didn't mention him. He's going to be out tomorrow. Surprise, surprise. The Clowney's expected to play. Harold Landry's expected to play. I think Derek Roberson is expected to play. And obviously Correa. So those guys are going to have to get pressure off the edge. Make him get rid of the football quick. You can't have Locke standing back there for 4 or 5 seconds, allowing those fast receivers to get downfield.
Yeah. How for Evans, he's got a hamstring injury. Now, neither one of these guys, Titans Film Room posted this on Twitter today, so this is a good point for him. He said that none of these guys went to the IR. So does that give you a little bit more confidence, or is this just one that maybe it's just not getting better and they can go on the IR at any time?
Well, if they go on the IR, I think they have to be on there for 3 weeks. And if you expect him to be back sooner than that, you don't want to, have to stash him for that long. So, as you mentioned, hamstrings are tricky. It could be where they just don't want to risk it, and you're playing in Denver and altitude. So that's another element when you're dealing with injury situations. So better to be safe than sorry in week 1. This is, again, this is almost like preseason even though the game actually counts, this is still the first live action that we'll see. So you want to be safe than sorry.
So let's just get into the game a little bit. How are you feeling for tomorrow's game against the Denver Broncos? What are some things that you're thinking that we have to do? And possibly, what do you just see that's going to happen in this game? Because if you look at what's going on with week 1, there have been some upsets. There's been some teams that have put up a lot of points. There's teams that did not put up any points. There are teams that played pretty well, and then they get towards the fourth quarter. I don't know if they're gassed or what, and then they kind of fall apart late. What do you expect that's going to happen tomorrow night and Mile High between the Broncos and the Titans, which are kicking off at like 9:10 Central Time?
Yeah, first and most importantly, we have to stop their run game, right? They signed Melvin Gordon. They still have the kid from last year who had a great season. So first and foremost, you have to stop the run. You stop the run, you put them in 2nd and long, 3rd and long situations. That's when you can unleash the hounds on the outside, Landry and Clowney. So if we can stop their run game, I think that's key number 1. Key number 2 for us is no penalties. We were very, very good as a football team last year. I think we have one of the lowest penalty rates in the NFL, if not the lowest. Keeping our down and distance manageable for Tannehill, so he's not having to run around for his life. Getting A.J. Brown involved in the game early, I think, is critical because that will put a lot of pressure on the Denver defense, and then that what opens up that run game for Derrick Henry. And, of course, Tannehill lives on the play-action pass. So I think getting A.J. Brown in the ball game early. But the most critical thing in this football game tomorrow for me, we have to be able to stop the running game of the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, and I think that's just it. I mean, traditionally, historically, we don't play well against running backs out of the backfield. We did a pretty decent job when we went up to New England in the playoffs, and we win, right? But we've went up to New England and played other teams that have really destroyed us out of the backfield. I think it was last year the Broncos had 7 receptions for 47 yards. I mean, you might be like, okay, that's 47 yards, but hey, if it's 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, that's moving the chains. That's not getting the offense off the field. And last year, I hear this all the time from Bronco fans. We had Joe Flacco. Now, I can come back to them and say we had Marcus Mariota, which, let's be honest, Mariota probably played one of his worst games of his career at Denver. I mean, that guy.
That was the last game he started, right?
Yeah, that was the last game he started. I remember he just didn't have it. I think he was 7 for 18, 62 yards, 2 interceptions, which were his only 2 interceptions he threw all year in week 6. But that one play, Ken, where he's rolling around and there's nobody around him and he literally just kind of runs right into a sack. That was pretty much the end-all be-all for him. They did jot him back out there a few times, but that's one important part for Bronco fans. I just don't know, with all the comments, that they're taking this Tennessee Titans team. I know the players will, but I mean, this Titans team is not the same team that went up to Mile High last year in week 6, is it?
No, it's not. And I think if you look at Vegas now, I remember a couple of weeks ago, Denver was favored by 2 points. And I was like, I need to go fly to Vegas and put some money down on the Titans. And this week, if you look at the line, I think the Titans are now 2-point favorites. So for a line to move 4 points within a matter of a little over a week says a couple of things. Obviously, the Broncos had a couple of injuries. Us signing Clowney may have moved the line a little bit as well. And then just Joe Public finally realizing, oh, yeah, Tennessee did go to the AFC Championship game last year. Maybe we should put our money there. So, the point spread thing is always interesting, to say the least, and how Vegas and how the public feels about a particular football team. But obviously, Joe Public feels pretty good because a lot of bets have been rolling in on the Titans, obviously.
Yeah. And then what do you expect from Clowney? Like, I don't know what to think tomorrow. Like, I'm super pumped to have him, and I think he'll show up at random times. I don't think they're going to overuse him tomorrow. I think they're going to be very conservative with how they play him. But I still an interception by the Cowboys, by the way. Terrible, terrible, terrible pass. Very good catch, by the way, through behind the defender. But anyways, I mean, what are your expectations tomorrow for Clowney?
I would expect anywhere from 20 to 25 plays for Clowney. They're going to use him probably in third down rush situations. They'll have specific packages for him, like you may have for, like a specialty player where you have, Mariota. We had particular packages for Mariota last year where he would come in for a couple of plays a game. Obviously, it'll be more than that for Clowney, but they'll have specific packages where he'll particular specific position groupings that he'll come in on. So I expect him to be a force. They're going to ramp him up slowly, but 20 to 25 plays should be good for him. And remember, last year when Clowney signed with Seattle, he did it the week before the season. So he's done this before. He knows how to he's a professional. He knows how to keep his body in shape. And so he'll be prepared to play.
Yeah. And then today, all this news. I mean, if he goes anywhere else, I feel like it's a non-story. But because he went to the Titans, the national media cannot. I mean, they can't get over it. They just can't believe it. So the latest report now is that the NFL is the bad guys in this because they shouldn't have. Apparently, Peter King and these guys have said the NFL should have had no business blocking any trades or signing trades, and he should be a Baltimore Raven. How'd you feel? Did you see that all around the social media today?
I did not see it today. I did hear that when the trade first happened, that the NFL said no, we're not going to allow that. I don't know what the specific rules are to signing trades. I know Cleveland, they always try to be very creative and gaining additional draft picks. I don't know why, because they don't know what to do with the draft picks when they get them anyway. When they bought Brock Osweiler, for extra picks, so they could have extra picks, and all they had to do was draft Deshaun Watson, and we wouldn't have to play Deshaun Watson 2 times every year. He would be in Cleveland. But nevertheless, Cleveland's always trying to be very creative and slick in the way they do things. And with the national media, love to see him in New Orleans or in Baltimore. Sure, they would. But he's not, so I'm not worried about it. Doesn't bother me.
So just by looking at the team to wrap this thing up, and we will definitely take questions. So thank you to our guest, Ked Moore, for joining us. At K Moore Sports, you could find him on Twitter, and you can find him on Facebook as well, and Instagram.
Mm-hmm. At Instagram, Ked Moore Sports.
Ked Moore Sports on Instagram. So thank you so much, Ken, for giving up your time to be here. So when you look at this Tennessee Titans now going in week one, it will be behind us here soon. We play less than 24 hours now. We'll be playing tomorrow at this time. Probably somewhere in the end of the first quarter, roughly around there is, oh my good, golf just took a big hands to the face. So that didn't look good. And let me tell you, they didn't throw the flag on it either. Oh man, they're showing the replay of the interception. They didn't throw the flag. That was awful. But anyways, when you look at this Titans team, we can get into strengths. But where do you think the weaknesses lie that are really going to possibly, I'm not saying they are, but where you might look at this team and be like, this could really derail what they want to accomplish this year? Or do you not find any of those weaknesses on this team, that all your answers are definitely there for you right now?
Two positions for me, obviously, quarterback position, Titans nations, we all want to put a bubble and a big bear around Ryan Tannehill and pray that nothing happens to him, because I don't think many of us have a lot of confidence in Logan Woodside. We've never seen him play. So, I mean, that's concern number one. Concern number two is the depth on the defensive line. Last year, Jeffrey Simmons was a backup. He was probably the best backup lineman in the NFL behind Casey. So with no Jarrell Casey, now Simmons becomes your starter, and who's your backup behind Simmons? So, and of course he had that bad injury in college that he was able to overcome. But if he were to go down at some point, then you worry about that backup position along the defensive line. So just the depth, I think our starters are fine across the board. Adoree Jackson, again, that's a concern now because being here in Houston, I saw a lot of Jonathan Joseph. I didn't like a lot of what I saw in Jonathan Joseph last year in Houston. He's a much older football player, very smart, very savvy, very tough, but he's not Logan Ryan. This is where you miss a Logan Ryan is in a game like this when Adoree goes down. So secondary, a little bit of an issue there. If Adoree, if this is something that lingers for 2 or 3 weeks, because next week, Jacksonville comes in here riding a high. They're going to be very, very confident coming into this game. Gardner Minshew was 19 of 20. He was almost perfect today. That kid is annoying to watch, but he plays with a swagger and an attitude like he's Joe Montana. And they got a great receiver in DJ Chark. I know I'm getting ahead of myself talking about week 2, and we still got week 1 to go. But that's, when we looked at the schedule, it was like, oh, we got Denver, didn't make the playoffs. We got Jacksonville that didn't make the playoffs. 2 easy wins. Well, nothing in the NFL is easy. Tomorrow night's going to be a very tough ball game. And now all of a sudden, week 2 looks like it's going to be a very tough ball game as well.
Yeah, and I think Jacksonville, the key is for them that these guys want to play. They had a lot of good guys. And, Campbell, the Ramsey, Ngakwe, these guys, I mean, they were great players. And I would have loved to have seen them on the Titans, especially Ramsey. But if you would go in there and it would kind of get a little bit, not go your way, maybe the other team scores a couple early, they seem like they mailed it in a lot easier. And then all the problems happen. These younger guys they just want to play. They're having fun out there. They're running the football. I mean, that Jacksonville team, I know as the Cowboys just put a field goal up, so it's 2017 Rams. They just looked like a different team out there. I mean, like you mentioned, Minshew, sure, 19 for 20, but it just seemed like they were way more motivated to play than I've seen them in a long time.
Yeah, they look energized today, and like you said, they got a lot of young kids, and hey, those kids are trying to get paid. They're hey, like colleges say, hey, they're on scholarship too. So those kids want to play. They want to show that they can produce. They've been given the opportunity, and now they're playing with confidence. Now it's a difference playing when you don't know, and that's what happens when you let a team hang around. And the Titans have done this all the time. We've seen this over and over again. We rise up for the great teams, and then we play down to the competition because we let those teams hang around. Second quarter, third quarter, and then fourth quarter, it's anybody's game. And that's what happened today in Jacksonville playing Indy. Indy let them hang around, and Jacksonville found a way to steal it at the end. So you can't let teams like that hang around. Important for Tennessee tomorrow night, getting back to the Denver game, get off to a fast start. If you get the ball first, or if you go on defense first, try to get a 3 and out. If you get the ball first, try to go down, get some points on the board. There's no crowd to take out of the game, obviously, but you can, deflate a young team easily if you jump on them early. You cannot allow them to hang around.
Yeah, I just hope we run it down their throat. I hope we send a message, not just to the Broncos, but we send a message to the league that this last year, when we were running through the playoffs until we ran into the Chiefs, this team's for real, and this team is not going anywhere this season. We're getting a little bit more respect, I think, but I still think there's a lot of teams. Chris Sims is one of them. Just doesn't know what to believe about the team. We do have a super chat, so thank you so much from Javon. He says Wyatt, or is he going to be activated with Roberson out? Do you think I'm going to play the tunes real quick here with Mike Keith? Let me find him. Touchdown Titans! So thanks so much for supporting the channel. We really appreciate it. If you guys haven't tightened up the like button yet, make sure you do that before you head out of here. And then also, if you are a new person and you're just kind of hanging out, definitely subscribe. We'd love to have you on more of our pre-game shows, post-game shows, weekly shows, whatever we do. Awesome community. A lot of people. We have a lot of fans from different teams, and we have some really good conversations. So you guys are always right on with it, and it's a lot of fun to hang out with you guys. So what do you think? Do you think there's going to be any surprises tomorrow with activations? And then if you do activate someone from the practice squad, is it different this year? I know last year, you'd have to go and then you'd activate them and then you'd have to release them and then anybody can come take them. I guess anybody could take them off the practice squad to begin with.
Well, they have a protected list now, so I believe you can have up to 16 players, if I'm not mistaken, on the practice squad, and you can protect, I think, anywhere from 4 to 6 of those guys where they can't be taken by another team. So essentially, it extends your 53-man roster, if you will. So you don't have to worry about that with your, the guys that you consider critical to your football team. You can put them on the practice list and still protect them. You can protect excuse me, as I mentioned, about 4 to 6 of those guys. As far as tomorrow, it's a 9 o'clock game. You got all day for guys to run and stretch and kind of see if they can or can't go. So I think it'll be game time decisions. You really can't predict those type of things. It just kind of depends on how a guy feels, with the coaching staff, with the medical staff sees, and warm-ups, a couple hours before the game. So we just have to be patient and wait and see.
Yeah. EDB615 says Raymond, sneaky sleeper for the fantasy too. Just show up against his former team. So what do you think about Khalif Raymond? You think how are you? Are you buying what you're seeing? I mean, the first guy he blew away, which is kind of scary, Ken, was actually Jonathan Joseph. So when that Twitter tweet was going around, when he just looked amazing, I feel bad because that was Jonathan Joseph that got burnt real bad there.
Well, hopefully we don't see a lot of that tomorrow with the Bronco receivers against Jonathan Joseph.
Yeah.
Just have a safety behind him. That's all I can say. Have a safety behind him. No, I'm excited about Khalif Raymond. We let Tajay Sharp go. I think it was a decision between Tajay Sharp, the bigger, better hands, slower receiver, or Khalif Raymond, who's smaller and fast and can be more dynamic. And I expect the Titans to use him a lot more this year, kind of similar to how Kansas City uses Tyreek Hill. Don't be surprised to see him in the run game on the reverses, quick screen passes, jailbreak screens, trying creative ways to get the football in his hands because he's a weapon. He's quick, he's fast, and so we need to see what he can do when we can get the football in his hands. So I expect him to be a big part of the offense. It'll be really interesting to see who becomes that guy between Raymond and Adam Humphries, because Adam Humphries may be more of your third down possession receiver, 3rd and 7 guy you go to, when the money's on the line. And then Khalif Raymond is kind of your icing, your 1st and 10 play action guy. You go deep over the top. You have him coming around on reverses on, say, a 2nd and 3. So I think when you have more opportunities in low leverage situations, 2nd and 3, 1st and 10, Khalif Raymond is kind of your wild card player. Then on your real critical situations, your 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7 with the game on the line, you're looking at Adam Humphries for those short catches, possession catches across the middle.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, Humphries really did turn it on in the Kansas City game, but he was hurt. Khalif Raymond was kind of like, he only played 5 plays a game, but granted, those were always big plays. Even in the Saints game, I mean, he made a big play and then he got hit in the head. And
yeah.
That
game, that catch would have won that game for us if it's called correctly.
Yeah, that's true.
And
then he's supposed to, like, how this is always scary to me, but he's got a new role on offense. He's going to be the 4th receiver. And then you're going to throw him out there on kick return and punt return. I know they did that with Davis last year. I called him Baby Davis because we already had Corey Davis, which was more of the, you know what I mean, like, senior, junior. But remember, we brought Davis at the very end of the year, and he was in the playoffs returning punts and never returned a punt before in his life, and he actually did quite well. Yeah. But what's your level of confidence with Raymond returning kicks?
Well, he's going to be the kick returner, right? And then Humphries is going to be the punt returner, right?
I heard Raymond's going to be both.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll find out tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, the main thing with those positions, hold the ball. Just don't fumble. Don't turn it over. Yards are a bonus, right? The first responsibility of a punt returner and a kick returner, catch the ball, secure it, don't turn it over. Now, he has a lot more explosiveness than Adam Humphries. So if he gets a seam, he can take off and go. He can be as good as Hardeman up in Kansas City. The Saints have a great return guy who got some really nice returns today for them. So having a good kickoff returner, like Darius Jennings, he was hit or miss. He'd either take it to the house or he'd get stopped inside the 20. You didn't know what you were going to get from that guy. But you want a guy that, if it's returnable, can at least get you out to the 25, 30-yard line without losing the football. And occasionally break one to get you some really good field position.
So Cody says, no one knows KC better than the Titans' offensive line. This is a really good point. They've been practicing against them for years. I think they'll do a good job containing him. How concerned are you with a motivated, maybe almost not a revenge thing, Ken, but you definitely know this game's going to be more to Casey than a normal game versus like the Browns or the Saints. How do you think Casey's going to do tomorrow?
I think Casey's going to be very motivated. I think Casey will put his imprint on the football game, but it's really only so much you can do as a defensive lineman because you can run away from Casey. You can, there's different things you can do to get away from him. I mean, he's not going to have 4 sacks tomorrow, so you don't have to worry about that. But he's going to be very good at plugging the gap. He's going to want to put his hat on Derrick Henry and say, hey, big fella, I'm here. So he expect Casey to make a couple of plays tomorrow. I expect him to be very active. Obviously, this is the biggest game motivation-wise. And Mark, it is revenge. It is revenge for him. He was PO'd about what happened, and I don't blame him. So, yeah, he's going to be extremely motivated. But, again, he plays a position where his impact won't be he's not like a cornerback who can terrorize a receiver the entire game and really take him out of the game. So his impact will be good. I don't think it'll be a game changer unless he makes a big play in the fourth quarter, hits Tannehill, and has like a strip sack fumble or something like that.
Yeah.
So, I think Casey will have a good game tomorrow, relatively speaking.
Yeah, I hope he plays well for his sake. I think I love him. I'll always love the guy. He put everything in for this team. I mean, when we were really bad, Casey, I remember him running around. He'd be one guy that would not give up. I remember the game where his pants kind of fell off. I mean, this guy was everywhere. He did what he could. I mean, and he was pretty good, Ken. I mean, he's been in the top 100 list. He's made some Pro Bowls. Like I said, he had a really good game against the Ravens last year to help. So I honestly wish we still had him. I know a lot of fans agree with me. Yep. And there are a lot of fans that are like, no, I'd rather have this guy that we got named Clowney. So I don't know if we would have been able to pull both of them off. I mean, I guess we do have the money now, right? We have 17 million.
Yeah, I think we still got like about we had 24. He's getting 15, so we probably got around nine or so.
Yeah. So
10 million.
Not sure if we could get him, but I know Snacks Harrison's out there. There are some other guys that maybe they'll take a run on and see how this first game goes. So we got basically a minute left. I wanted to see, this is a comment that's come up a lot, and I'm not sure how you feel about it. So Rich says, I'm assuming he's a Broncos fan, maybe not. He says, Drew Lock, 5 games, over 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns, 3 picks, 4 wins, only lost to Kansas City. How do you think, when you look at Drew Lock, I mean, how good is Drew Lock?
I like Drew Lock. I saw him here when he played Houston. They destroyed the Texans that game. He's a good young quarterback. So yes, I do like Drew Lock. He can be dangerous. He's got a good arm. He's got good accuracy. He seems to be very cerebral. He does a good job in the pocket. But I think in this type of situation, with no preseason, very limited OTAs, he didn't really get a chance to enhance what he did last year by getting those reps that you would normally get in preseason. With the preseason coming into the regular season, I think he would be a much more dangerous quarterback than he will in week 1. So what we hope to see tomorrow is a rusty Drew Lock. But I think by the end of the year, I think Denver fans, you have a great young quarterback, probably the best quarterback they've had since Peyton Manning left, I guess.
Yeah. So I was high on Drew Lock. I thought I was actually like when the Titans were flirting around with Lock during the draft, supposedly, like I wanted Mariota to work out. I'm not going to lie about that. But it did intrigue me a little bit. Like, who's this Drew Lock guy? And he's calm, collective. He looks like he's obviously having fun. He loves to sing on the sidelines. He has a good time. Let's just say that. The thing it gives me a little bit of hope is you mentioned maybe he starts off a little slow. Your sophomore season, we would call it. It's his second year. A lot of guys some excel, some get better, some stay the same. Some guys don't. Sometimes it takes a while to get going. I look at VY, Vince Young. He won Rookie of the Year. He looked to be electric. Nobody could stop him. And I wouldn't say he maybe took a step back, but he had some important situations going on, I remember. And when you look at it for just from this point of view with Locke, I don't know if there's enough tape. I mean, we keep hearing that about Tannehill. Tannehill, he only played in, half the season last year. Well, let's see what he does in a full season. Well, I think you would say the same thing about Drew Lock.
True. Yeah. Very, very good point. Very good point. Like I said, he only started a handful of games last year. Those handful of games that he played were good. But again, he's playing with new receivers. He's got 2 rookies. Again, we don't know if Cortland Sutton is going to play tomorrow. That would be a huge loss for them if he doesn't play. So that puts, more pressure on that receiving core. So I would expect us to be able to win that game, 31-20, 30-17, somewhere in that ballpark. That's what I would expect us to win the ball game tomorrow by double digits. At least that's what I would hope. Contain Drew Lock. He's not Tom Brady. He's not Joe Montana. He's a good young quarterback who I think will be a solid quarterback for years to come. Let's just hope it doesn't start tomorrow night.
Yeah, let's hope it doesn't. I don't know. What's your level as excitement for this season compared to seasons prior? Where are you at out of 10, you think?
Oh, man,
Going
I'm
into
pumped.
tomorrow.
I'm pumped. I mean, I'm a 9. The only thing that concerns me is how we respond to being the favorite in most games now.
True.
It's different
Good
when you're
point.
coming in the underdog and you're coming in under the radar. But now teams are, okay, yeah, this is the team that gave Kansas City all they could handle. This is the team that destroyed Baltimore. This is the team that ended Tom Brady in New England. So now you have this is the team that were, co-favorites in the division with Indy. So you're going to get your best shot from football teams now. You're not coming in just as, oh, we're just playing the Titans. No, you're playing the Titans now. So they have to be ready for that expectation.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to do it for the show. I'm sorry we started off with so many technical difficulties. That's my bad. We want to thank Ken for coming on. It's always a treat to get you on, Ken, because you're so insightful with football. You got that background as a broadcaster, and it definitely shows up. So we just want to thank you again for giving up your time, man, and being here with us. So one more time, where can they find you? And if they want to, read more of your comments on social media and follow you.
Yeah, absolutely. On Twitter, once again, at KMoore Sports. And then I'm on Instagram at Kenmore Sports. And we did get some good news here in Texas. It looks like we will have high school football beginning at the end of September. So I will be covering high school football here in Houston, in the Houston area this year. So I'll let you guys know more about that if you're interested in that. And then we were still kind of waiting to see how the college thing plays out for some of the colleges here. A lot of college football is going on right now, but then there's a lot of conferences that are not going to play until the springtime. So we're going to keep our fingers crossed. Hope the kids stay safe. Hope you stay safe, Mark. Hope everything's going well with you and the fam and the school teaching and all that stuff. Hope the kids and everybody are safe. And hope you guys are staying safe and out there across the YouTube Twitterverse.
Yeah, thanks again, Ken. And like I said, I don't know if you saw that Texas State. Is it San Antonio? That was a good game. It was like 51-48 overtime.
Yeah, there's a lot of crazy games this weekend. Yeah.
It's good, just good to have it back.
59-3
Nice.
over UTEP. UTEP's terrible, but hey, a win's a win. Hook 'em.
Yeah, hook 'em horns, right? So, all right, you guys. Hey, tomorrow we will be. Ken, are you going to be on the show tomorrow?
I think I'm gonna try to pop in. I'm not gonna guarantee it. I may make a surprise appearance, but I will be watching the game, obviously, with everybody else.
Yep. So we'll be at the watch along party on Mr. Titan's channel, and then they'll be doing a short pre-game or post-game show. I'm just gonna be up late tomorrow, Ken. I'll just tell you up front, and then So I'll be ready to talk Titans.
Take a nap after school tomorrow so you don't fall asleep.
Yeah, I'm going to have to. So, yeah, I will still have a post-game show, you guys. So I will put some sort of time on there. And then usually we're about a half hour after the game. And I'll be probably on, like I said, Mr. Titan's channel during his post-game show for a little bit. And then we'll come back here. So I'll see Amari in the house. I know there's some Bronco fans in here. So thank you for giving
questions. I'm fine. It's up to you.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys got some more questions, we could stay a little longer. The Rams game, Rams just crossed midfield. Man, Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, they went for it on a 4th down inside the 10-yard line, and they got stuffed, Ken. So Rams have been moved it past now midfield. Cam Akers looks to be running at 13 rushes for 36 yards. But it looks like a good one with 8 minutes left. But if any of you guys have a question, we've had some pretty good conversations in here. Again, I think the Titans, it's going to be roughly around 20. And I think the Broncos maybe 2013. But I think it's going to be close. Usually these games are. I think there'll be a little rust early. We'll see if they can kind of turn it on. The Chiefs game was rusty with the Texans, but the Chiefs figured it out earlier. And that's why they kind of ran away with that thing. As far as the division now, seeing these teams play, Jacksonville, the Texans, the Colts, I know that we were kind of high on the Titans to begin with, But have you noticed anything stand out with these teams from the AFC South, seeing them up front and personal here week one, or is it just too early to tell?
Houston's got a problem on defense. An underrated move that doesn't get a lot of attention because they traded DeAndre Hopkins, who, by the way, blew up today for
Yes,
Arizona. This quick sidebar. Love Kyler Murray. Won 4 state championships here in the state of Texas. Kids like 5'7", probably 5'8", 5'9". But he is such a little dynamo. And now that he's got DeAndre Hopkins, watch out for the Arizona Cardinals. They beat San Francisco, obviously, today. D-Hop had like 14 catches. Texas is going to miss him hugely. But one move that didn't get a lot of attention, they lost their nose guard this year, DJ Reader, who had a very good game for the Bengals today. They have a gaping hole in the middle of that defense. The Ravens, I expect them to run the ball down the Texans' throat next week. The Texans got a defensive problem that they're going to have to figure out. They got 2 new coordinators as well. Bill O'Brien is not calling the plays offensively. They have a new offensive and defensive coordinator. So they're kind of a team in flux. I look at them as kind of an 8-8 team. Same with Indy. I think Indy's overvalued. A lot of people got them at 10, 11 wins. I just don't see it with Phillip Rivers. He's a turnover machine. He was a turnover machine today. I'd see that team around 8-8. Jacksonville's going to be interesting. They had a good win today. Titans just need to slap them back into their rightful position of being the Jaguars next week. Don't let them go 2-0 and start to really feel confident and be in first place in the division. So we should take advantage of that next week. And for us, we'll see what we look like tomorrow. But as long as this team, I think we have a good coaching staff. I think Vrabel is a no-nonsense kind of guy. As long as the team is buttoned up, and one season does not lead into another season. And sometimes people forget that it's not an extension of 2019. It's a brand new season. You have brand new players and brand new positions. You have a lot of continuity. Most of the team is back, but you have a lot of players on the back end that have changed out, and those are usually the guys that can be the difference between winning a game and losing a game. If you saw the end of the Detroit game today, Matt Stafford made a perfect pass, game-winning touchdown. What happened? A rookie running back dropped the ball. If that's Adrian Peterson doesn't have the best hands, but if there's a veteran running back in that position, they probably looked that ball all the way in, secured Detroit has a win. But they throw it to a rookie running back, he got excited and dropped the ball in the end zone. That's the difference between a win and a loss in NFL. Simple, small things, and people, they kind of look at the big guys, Tannehill and AJ and Derrick Henry. But a lot of times it's guys that blow a coverage in a secondary, miss a block, things like that can be the difference between winning and losing.
Yeah, and if anybody didn't see that drop that Kent's talking about, I mean, there's Nick Williams' drop, and then this one is just, if you think Nick Williams' drop can't get worse, then go see what happened in Detroit today, because it's unbelievable. Like, he even turns around, and then it just right out, man. Yep. You're right. It happens. And when you're younger, sometimes you're getting that's what the preseason's for. You can get a lot of this stuff out. And then still week 1, week 2 is kind of rusty for some of these guys. And then just to go out there day 1, it's got to be hard. So let's just hope none of that craziness happens tomorrow. Well, it can happen all day for the Broncos. And I do want to say an apology to Rich Kendall. Apparently, things aren't going well for him in the chat because I said he was a Broncos fan. He's actually a Chiefs fan. So you got that going for you, man. You won this. You got probably the best team everybody thinks anyway. So hopefully you'll be okay. But these guys are respectful. They'll give you a hard time, but we all mean fun in the end. And then somebody asked if Fulton's playing. Yeah, Fulton's playing, right? He's not on the list. I think he'll play a lot.
Yeah, he will. Yeah, he'll play a lot. He'll be our nickel corner. You may see him outside some as well on some of those faster receivers. Remember, he played in the SEC. So he's going to see his buddy from Alabama tomorrow. Those guys they'll match up, and that'll be
Yeah.
fun to see. That'll be really, really fun to see him against Judy. So
Yeah.
that'll be interesting.
Somebody commented who was a Bronco fan, and they do not think that Judy will match up with Fulton. I'm like, yeah, they matched up in college a lot, and they responded they're not buying it. So I guess they'll have to wait and see. I heard Fulton kind of held his own in that game.
Yeah, he played well. He played well in that championship game. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. Hopefully he can hold up his end of the bargain.
Titans Torch said they take high school football seriously in Texas. Never knew. He's being sarcastic.
They'll play through anything, man.
Dash is excited for the season. Thinks we might be a possibility to get the Super Bowl. How are your feelings on that? I know it's kind of hard just to throw that out there, but I mean, we're in a Super Bowl window, are we not? I mean, the team has a realistic shot to get there, I think.
Yeah, you're in a 2 to 3 year window right now. You got Tannehill, you got Henry in their primes. That's why the Isaiah Wilson thing is so disappointing, because you were hoping he could just be a plug and play guy, drop him in there, and he can, get off rolling with the team. So that's why that's so disappointing. But yeah, I mean, we're right there with the Chiefs and the Ravens. The Chiefs dominated this weekend. The Ravens dominated this weekend. The Titans should dominate tomorrow night. We'll find out tomorrow night if the team is prepared or not. They should be.
Yeah, I think they will. Vrabel, you're giving Vrabel a lot of time. I just feel bad that they got to, and this is nothing against Wilson, but the team should be focused on the season. They shouldn't be focused on this whole, it's hard enough for teams with, the sickness thing going on, and all the different changes that presents. And now you got to worry. Yep.
I'm sorry. Jalen Ramsey just put a hit on Amari Cooper. Yeah, he's earning his $100 million.
Did they rule that a fumble?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, because it looked like they let it play for a while. I'm telling you what, the Cowboys, they're going to be upset. I mean, if they don't win this game, they have not looked very good. I mean, they've marched the ball at times.
Well, it's under review, by the way.
It is under review. I don't think he caught that at all.
I don't think so either.
See, we tried really hard to get Amari Cooper. So I guess the thing was we wanted to trade a first-round pick for him, but Oakland at the time traded him to Dallas because the J-Rob wanted us to switch second-round picks. And I believe I want to say Oakland had more of a early pick in the second round, so we had a later one, so we were going to flip-flop those. And Oakland said no and went with Dallas's offer of just the straight number one pick.
I'm okay with it. I'm not a big Amari Cooper guy.
You don't like him?
I'm not
you know what I mean?
Not a big fan. He disappears in a lot of big games.
Yeah, I don't know. I think when you have Corey Davis right now, I just wish I was real hopeful for Corey. Maybe he'll turn it around this year. But I mean, if this hamstring thing is serious as far as it possibly could, hinder him in the next few weeks, we know that thing can pop up at any time. So I'm very hopeful it's precautionary. And it does give me a little hope he actually practiced fully the last two times.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Oh, we got another super chat. Here we go from Christopher Stone. He says, I think how we'll play tomorrow will answer a good amount of our questions on how we'll do this season. Denver is a good team, and I feel confident for a Titans W. So for questions being answered, I mean, how much can week one answer a lot of these questions that we have? I know I have questions for defensive line. I don't think we'll get the questions answered for backup quarterback tomorrow, obviously. I hope not. Hope we don't have to answer that question all year. But as far as just the team itself, offensively, defensively, or is it just kind of like it's 1 week, no matter what happens?
Yeah, it's 1 week. Every game is big. It's a trendsetter. But we started off 1-0 last year with a big win against Cleveland, and then all of a sudden we're 2-4. We fall apart until the turnaround came. So there's going to be a lot of ebbs and flows to the season. The thing about the Titans is you have to look at their schedule. The schedule is very favorable early in the season, so you have to take advantage of that window, because late in the season is where the difficult games begin. Once you get into November and December, you have a lot of road games. Those games could have fans in the stands in those venues that you're going to. Luckily, we're a good bad weather team, so going into snow and rain and all that stuff doesn't affect us as much as, say, a Houston that's leaving a dome or Indy that's leaving a dome to go play outside. That really doesn't affect us. But we have a very favorable early schedule, so you want to take advantage of that. First 6 games, we need to come out of that 5-1, in my opinion. 4-2 at worst, but really, I don't see 2 games on the schedule that we should lose. The Minnesota game should be tough, but there's no fans in Minnesota for that game, I don't think. And then every game in October we have is at home. So we need to take advantage of the early schedule the way it's laid out.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see how Pittsburgh looks tomorrow, because Pittsburgh's a team to me, had a top 5 defense, had nobody playing quarterback last year, still almost snuck in the playoffs. That one for tomorrow, see just how healthy Big Ben is. That could be a little problematic how they play. They're just as physical as us. And that's probably a team we'll end up facing in the playoffs. So that's going to be definitely a big one. But for the Vikings, I don't know. I know the Packers look real good today, but I also didn't really. I mean, if you could stop Cook, put all the pressure on Cousins and their defensive ends now with Hunter being out. I mean,
and who's their second receiver now with Stephon Diggs gone? You know, that's Adam Thielen had a big game today.
Yep.
And they had a couple of other guys that made plays, but who's that true number 2 receiver for them? So
it's not Tajay Sharp.
No, I didn't even see him in the stat sheet, I don't think, today.
I remember that's why he picked the Vikings. I mean, it was going to be about the same amount of money. That's why he picked the Vikings over the Titans, because he thought he legitimately had a shot at number 2. And it was funny because as soon as he signed, a couple days later, the Vikings were in the news trying to make a trade for wide receiver. And we know they did trade Diggs, but they were looking.
Sharp is not in the he's not in the box score. He didn't have a catch today, so I don't know if he played or not. But if he did, he was invisible.
Yeah, well, he did go invisible sometimes for us, and then he'd show up. So I do wish him the best. Christopher Stone, again, thanks so much for the super chat, man. We really do appreciate that on the channel. Any last closing comments before we get out of here? Because this game's going to get quite interesting here at the end.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people are ready to watch the end of this. It's going down to the last couple of minutes. No, pretty good week 1. I mean, there were a few blowouts today, but there were some great finishes. I think the product looked better than I expected it to look. So I was very happy with that. And I'm looking forward to the ball games tomorrow. As you mentioned, Pittsburgh, they're definitely a wild card in the AFC. You don't know what to expect from them this season. And then our game tomorrow night it's the last game of week 1. And it'll give us a good look to see how this preseason has gone. So tighten up. Let's see if we can get the victory.
Yep. Tighten up. Thanks again, you guys. Make sure you tighten up that like button before you get out of here. We almost got 100 likes. We're at 87. And again, if you haven't subscribed yet or followed us on social media, we definitely love to have you, as they're showing the fans there in the backdrop. Tomorrow, don't forget, watch party at Mr. Titan's channel. I think he's starting that thing around 9. He's got all sorts of guests planned for that show. And then eventually we'll find ourselves back on here tomorrow night for the post-game show. And let's just hope we can celebrate a win and move on to Jacksonville. So for Ken, myself, you guys have a great night. Stay safe, and don't forget to tighten up. We'll see you guys later. Take care.